No one in the history of the world has spectated an Immortal player and said, I wonder if this is gold.
It's looking like plat. Bad utility usage. Isolating himself out for a 1v1 here. No awareness. Definitely not Ascendant. You're gonna say Immortal just because? Come on, Kara. It's the util for me. It's this. It's the util usage right here. Why'd you use your slide here? He's like button mashing right now. It's like throwing shit out. Ah! I think I'm going gold here. We're gonna submit. Ready? Show me gold. No! Wait! No! Wait! No! What? Alright, we're gonna react to DQ Roman, my good pal, on his daily dose of copium that just came out recently. Let's take a look.
I got a doozy for us today from a young hustler by the name of Quiet Flick, who has some words on what's considered high elo. Now, for some context, I made a video about a month ago talking about how Diamond is not low elo, and ever since then, I've been tagged in tons of videos on this topic. This video from Senior Flick being one of them. This young man was inspired by me, so it's time for me to be inspired by him. Let's get undressed and see what we got here.
All right, so I've seen so many people fighting about what is high elo in Valorant and what is not, and I'm here to tell you, as a humble Immortal 3 player.
Humble Immortal 3 player. That's an oxymoron. We're off to a beautiful start.
And someone.
I mean, I know you're trolling right now, Roman, but he's trying to approach this from a teacher perspective and trying to say, hey, you know, I'm not going to sit here and try to ego. I'm just going to tell you how it is.
Someone who has played in every rank ranging from Iron to Radiant, I think I have a decent opinion on what is high elo or not.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Flickster, someone's rank in this conversation means absolutely nothing. Opinions don't really mean anything here either. Elo and rank, they're math, they're numbers, things that could...
Okay. I know where you're going to go with this. You're going to say population. You're going to, this is what everyone's claim is, population, right? And that will determine what's high or low rank. But to be honest with you, population, popularity contests do not guarantee that someone is going to be a high or low rank. That's not how it works. It's all about the skill range. And I think that's what this guy's going to end up alluding to. And it's something that, unless you've actually experienced it, you can't really speak on the topic. It's just that simple. And that's where you and I tend to differ quite a bit.
Be measured. This isn't a conversation about how someone feels or what someone thinks. A 7th grader who has never played a...
It's not about what someone feels or thinks. It's about what people have experienced. It's what frames opinions, why you have your opinion as well, right? And I'm not disregarding your opinion. I think everyone's open to having their own opinion. But if you're going to refer to some sort of graph that says population shows this, therefore this is medium and low range, I'm sorry, you're in for a world of hurt, my friend.
When it comes to these statistics, yes, technically the average elo range of a casual ranked player in Valorant is about silver 1 to gold 1. Take a look at this graph, which shows...
Okay, so this is the graph right here. And of course, we're going to see this being most of the players, right? And then you have a little bit of gold and drop off. Now, what a lot of people will say, and I'm curious to hear what your actual breakdown of this is, Roman. What people will say is that this is medium, right? And then they'll say this is high rank, which is like diamond to whatever. And then they'll say this is low rank, whatever the case may be. And they do it based on just like how many ranks are in the game. And that's what they say, right? The way that I actually look at this game, and having coached over 700 students, I have a graph here. We can set it to ELO if you want, ELO skill. Okay, so we'll say the ELO is right here. This is our graph. And then we have our skill. Okay. Now, the way that it works, and this is no exaggeration, this is how it works based on, once again, 700 VOD reviews of students. You have iron down here, so we'll put iron here, and we'll put radiant right here. And the way that it ends up working is you have a slow increase. Notice how low this is. All the way across. We're now, past bronze, silver. We're going into gold, which ends up spiking a little bit. And the reason being is that there's a smurfing problem. And I don't disagree that there should be a dealing or work around for all these smurfs and trying to deal with it. So there's a little bit of a spike, right? And then you got platinum, which goes down here. This is a troll, but it is true, though. I feel like platinum has this, like, it's the pit of despair. There's a mixed bag of just people that shouldn't be there, or smurfs. It's just like, it's the worst part of the whole game, ultimately. And then diamond goes a little bit higher than gold. Okay? Now, once again, relating this all to skill, okay? And this is where his argument's coming from, because he's actually played through every single rank. You've had the experience of only playing up to platinum, which, by the way, I'd love to work with you at some point and see if I can get you even higher ranked than you are. I think it would be a lot of fun to work with you. And if we do that, then I can probably help you understand why there's flaw to your assessment, with population being the determiner of what's high, mid, and high elo, high elo, mid elo, and low elo. So we go to Diamond, and then we go to Ascendant, which is a little bit higher. And Ascendant goes up to about Ascendant 3, and then you go into Immortal, which is a little bit higher, until we get to Immortal 3, which shoots up. And then by the time we get to Radiant, it shoots up past the screen. Okay? Now, this is the skill determiner, okay? And this is coming from experience playing it, and it comes from experience actually coaching it. Now, why is there such a shift? First of all, anyone that says something is high or low elo is lying, because ultimately it's all trash. It's all opinion based. There's no such thing as high or low elo. That's my opinion on it. So I'm giving you a third person opinion on this. I don't really agree with him, and I don't agree with you on either side. And the reason why is that there are levels to this game. When you are dealing with all the way up to Ascendant 1, you are dealing with micro skill. Micro skill is stuff that is only attributed to what you do in the game. The macro skill, which is the encompassing area of everything beyond Radiant and into Immortal 3, Immortal 2, which is what he's making the argument on, is something that a lot of players don't have any idea about. This is the macro part of the game. The macro part of the game is how your thoughts and reactions dictate and affect the world around you. Okay, it's not just about individual mechanics and whatnot, and that's where a lot of people fall off. So they end up having most of the population sticking in micro, and this is the reason why I have a job as a coach, is because a lot of players don't take into account the macro part of the game that helps them move to that next level. So there's been times where I've even had tests where I've had a high diamond player / Ascendant play off against a Radiant, and he's beaten them aim duel for aim duel mechanic wise, right? And that's because the micro skill has been developed to a point that it allows them to be able to still be on par with them skill wise in terms of just gun skill. But as soon as you involve the other elements of why they're doing things and how it affects the world around you, pretend you're like a painter and you're painting a beautiful picture and you're trying to tell this person, this other team, here's what I want you to think, and now I'm throwing a fake on you, for example. You're not going to be able to get to that next level. And that's really where the population shifts from. So the whole idea behind low, medium, high, when I make a video on TikTok, it's purely marketing. It really is purely marketing, because at the end of the day, I personally think if you're playing ranked, you're low elo general, because what you're also not taking into account is that there's ranks beyond Radiant. There's tier 3, there's tier 2, and there's tier 1. And I know what your argument's going to be. You're going to be like, well, that's not part of the ranked environment. I want you to listen to this. Tier 3, very, very similar in rank, in skill, to a Radiant player. And this is what a lot of pro players also, with their experience, will agree with me on. A Radiant player cannot transition into tier 1 because they do not understand what the actual game is. Part of that is going to be getting the brief amount of macro skill that they will get from a ranked environment, but it multiplies by like 100 times once you start getting into a team environment, which is why Premier is such a popular thing. So it is in par with tier 3 teams, and you can get away with it, but as soon as you get to tier 2, it shoots up massively. And then tier 1, I can't even get to tier 1 on my screen because it shoots way past beyond that. So a tier 1 pro, which I think in this video you argue Demon 1 versus like a Radiant player and how there's going to be a different skill base. There is. There is, because it's a different game. You're playing a completely different game at that point. So when you're talking about the actual rank system, this is how it works in layers of skill. And just because population falls in this micro area does not say that this team or this particular rank is a high rank. It doesn't work that way. Just because 100 people decide to jump off a bridge and most of them survive doesn't mean that was a good decision, right? It's still bad at the end of the day. So I personally encompass everyone. This is not me being egotistical. It's me having had experience played in a T1 environment in beta, for example, and seeing the difference in skill. Having played at a high level in a different games as well, and seeing the difference in skill and what's the holes in it. I wouldn't be doing what I can today with coaching had it not been this was the existence of it. So I personally have the opinion that there is no such thing as high, low, or medium rank. The reason being is that primarily the game also has not developed enough yet. It hasn't gotten to a point where we can firmly say, and I get this with rank, guess the rank all the time, where we can firmly say who is what rank. I literally had a situation today on stream where I'm like, this guy is 100% gold and showed up in a mortal lobby, right? So we can't even have an idea. And this whole like graph thing that someone's made about, oh yeah, this is where people lie in their population. That's great, okay? You can have all those people there, and you can have a popularity contest of where you want to be. At the end of the day, the skill does not translate. And it's not just about skill with gun skill. There are many categories to this. Communication, for example. I could list these off for forever. So I don't want to sit in there, but let's get back to the video.
That exact statistic.
So we're talking numbers, statistics, facts. I like that. This is where you have the opportunity to be the smartest guy in the room, Flicky. Don't mess it up.
Which, although is most likely accurate, I think when people say diamond is low elo, they mean skill level.
I was rooting for you, man.
You can't disregard this, Roman. Again, I don't blame you for disregarding this because you don't have the experience of playing at a high level.
Really was. Elo and skill, they're the same thing.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Based on what I was just telling you with the micro skill, you can say micro skill, will take you to a certain spot, but the reason why people drop ranks so suddenly all the time is because they're not understanding the macro. They're not understanding the next level of the game. There are levels to this game. You cannot do that. You cannot say this in this game. If we had 3 more years, I would say 5 years in total, okay, maybe 2 more years of ranked play where we've gathered enough information on players and they're now sitting in their right rank, first of all, then you can probably argue this. You look at a game like Overwatch, it's very clear, cut, and dry who should be in what rank and what are the holes in each of those ranks to be able to get you to the next level. Right now, if I were to look at that micro skill between silver and diamond 3, this is my range. Ascendant 1, a little bit, is interchangeable. I've had Ascendant 1s that have dropped all the way down to platinum. Right? I don't want to name anyone, but I've seen those massive drops. It's because they don't understand that next level, that big jump up the hill when they're going into macro gameplay. So I'm sorry, it just didn't work for you, my friend.
They run parallel. As you improve, so does your rank. If you don't get better, neither will your...
That's the theory behind comp play, but it doesn't play out that way because the game is still too young.
Rank. You ever heard of hard stuck players? These are people that are in gold for 2 years straight. Do you know why? Because they didn't get better. This is the whole reason why
they didn't get better from gun skill potentially or peaking or something like that. Yeah, I agree with you. I think this makes sense right here.
Immortals have egos. It's because their rank tells people they are more skilled. You're not
I mean, that's also their own problem as well. I mean, I've hit Radiant before. I don't feel like I have an ego at all. In fact, I do the opposite of just trying to help as many people as I possibly can get to the goals that they want to get to, right? So I don't think you classifying every single immortal that you ever ran into as having an ego is accurate. I think that's unfair.
The low elo doesn't really mean low elo take here.
Not necessarily low elo as in the players in that rank percentage wise, but more so the players in that rank game sense wise. Let me explain.
Please do, because I'm lubing up and you got about 3 minutes before you find out why they called me 7 soft in college.
Of course, as we all know, the lower the rank, the lower the game sense of the player in that said rank. Therefore, a Radiant player that is consistently 800 RR every act will automatically say Diamond 3 is low elo due to the player generally being a lot worse, both game sense.
So what he's referring to is the different skills, the different skill sets for every single rank and whatnot. And like, again, we talk about the micro versus macro. This is the big difference, the big differentiating factor. It's not necessarily what you bring to the table in terms of your own individual skill. It's about the decisions that you make that affect the world around you, and that's the macro.
wise and mechanically compared to the average Radiant Valorant player.
Yes, and you understand why that's a stupid thing for them to say, right? Hey, you're not as good as Radiant players, so that means you are low elo.
I mean, this is coming from the ego perspective too, and I like to say that I'm not in the ego perspective, where people will just say that. Absolutely, I think people are, you know, villainous and will say shit like that to dissuade other players. I think it happens all the time. I don't necessarily condone that course of action.
Nice.
Even though it may be top 7.1%. Yes, stats don't lie, and technically even if the players are 10 times worse than what an Immortal 3 player would be, it doesn't take away from the players in that rank being usually worse than what some people expect.
Big Flick, I'm a pretty tall guy, 6'7" to be exact. How tall are you? It actually doesn't matter, because if you're not 6'7" or taller, then you're short. Even if you're 6 foot.
I mean, again, we're looking at perspective here, Roman, which I 100% agree with you. If you're 6'7", then you're going to be thinking everyone else is shorter than you. It's that simple. I'm a tall guy as well, and I look down on most people. So, yeah, everyone looks shorter to me. In fact, there's some people and some clients that will say that, oh, yeah, you know, that girl is shorter than you. 100%.
Which is
yeah, everyone is shorter than me.
Way above the average height for a man. I'm still going to say you're short because you're not as tall as me. Sounds pretty dumb, right?
From your perspective, it's all your perspective. Again, you're coming from a perspective of only making it through platinum, right? So,
Agree. Glad we're on the same page. Let's keep.
if you were at the top of Mount Everest looking down, you'd say everyone looks really small up here. If you were in the middle of Mount Everest looking around, you'd say, well, everyone looks small, but it's not nearly as small as if I was on the peak of the mountain. I mean, like, I really don't see what why we're making this a point at all.
In my opinion, people don't start getting quote-unquote good at the game until around mid to high Immortal 2 and low Immortal 3.
I'm glad you put quote.
I would say this is accurate, because Immortal 2 is really where that macro play starts punishing you if you're not getting it. Like, you're getting grassroots macro play in Ascendant, and they're still not fully understanding it. Even Radiants aren't fully understanding it right now.
I'm glad you put quotes on that, because what the hell does being good actually mean? I can say anyone who's.
And this is actually, Roman, I want you to answer this question too. What does good actually mean to you? Right? Because you clearly have a very strong opinion on this. Otherwise, you wouldn't say that you wouldn't be arguing this at all.
Who's never won a world championship is not quote unquote good at the game. Does that mean that there's any way for me to use logic and facts to defend that argument? Or am I just saying random words hoping people agree? You decide.
Yes, I know Immortal alone, including Immortal 1, is the top 0.7% of players, but let me explain.
Yeah, there's no need to explain that one. You just said that being in the top 0.7% of all players in the world still means you're bad. And honestly,
yeah. Again, you know, micro versus macro. Micro versus macro. They might be really good as a micro player, and they could still duel, you know, Demon 1. They could still duel Radiant players. They could still aim duel them. But you're not even understanding the game at this point. You haven't even played Valorant until you've actually scrimmed it, right? So there's levels to this game.
You're right as fuck on that one, Brody. I would say that's a slay on period.
People don't really start playing extremely smart until high Immortal 3, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, there goes that opinion word. Listen, man.
He's got to say opinion because coming from his perspective, this is your opinion too, again, Roman.
If your name is in Demon 1, I would say you're low elo, in my personal opinion. I don't need to prove that in any way. I don't need to defend it with logic. Even though we have the numbers that tell us where everyone is ranked, we can easily figure out who qualifies as average, above average, and below
What is this gameplay I'm watching?
average from a rank, elo, and skill perspective. But fuck all that. You are all bad to me, but that's just my opinion. So
again, I don't think we've gone far enough in the rank system to really figure out where people are supposed to sit. I think that's an honest problem with the system, and we're not really there yet. We're not there yet. We don't have enough data yet still.
you can't get mad, okay?
And it's coming from the experience of having seen the same mistakes from Ascendant all the way down to Silver. Like, if you come in, Roman, and you watch some of my streams, you'll see the same shit going on over and over and over again. It's like redundant, right? Redundant mistakes that continually happen all the time. And I don't necessarily blame these students because they haven't learned the game. It's just a matter of lack of experience playing tactical shooters.
Each player has their own opinions.
And then they end up being interchangeable ranks. That's why everyone's falling in this area, in this category, this pit, this trap.
To what they think would be.
But just because there's a lot of players there does not make it more right. It does not make them have a certain qualification or classification for where they're at. This is all opinion based for both of you.
High or low elo, meaning some silver players may think diamond is high elo and some silver players might think Immortal 1 is high elo.
I'm pretty sure the only silver players who don't think Immortal 1
really
is
have a
high
point to this.
elo are the ones that sit in Radiant Twitch chats all day and are just regurgitating some BS they heard their favorite streamer
Like, you're just talking shit at this point.
say, who is dangerously detached from reality.
Yes, percentage does matter when depicting rank disparity, but the opinions of
I mean, I don't really see. Okay, I'd like you to deep dive that a little bit more for me as to what you mean by like Curry's
Favorite streamer say, who is dangerously detached from reality.
detached from reality is what he's saying. I don't really understand where you're coming from with that. I'm sure there's some sort of history behind
percentage
that.
does matter when depicting rank disparity, but the opinions of what is high elo will always be subjective to each person.
No.
I agree.
No, they won't.
No, I 100% agree. I 100% agree with this one. And that's why you're making this a fight point right now. Because you have not experienced high gameplay. You've played in Platinum. You've played in the Pit of Despair, right? And this is no shot at you again, right? I respect your perspective, but you don't fully understand the topic in which you're talking about. And that's the problem.
Because elo and skill are congruent. If they weren't,
They're not.
then flexing your rank would have no value. Someone saying their rate
Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. Silver to Ascendant can be interchangeable. It can be. I've literally seen drop-offs from Ascendant players going all the way down to as low as Platinum and Gold. They've lost rank, insane amounts of rank, because they make repetitive mistakes that you've seen from Silver all the way to low Ascendant. It's the same mistakes that keep happening over and over again. And they have these massive drops or they have these massive gains in elo, and they're wondering why they're hard stuck. It's because they're just fundamentally not making the right moves.
Radiant
It's
holds
all interchangeable. Over time, those things will come to these players and they will learn it, and you will start seeing a better rank disparity across the entire platform.
value because it means they are good. Someone saying they are bronze is depressing because it means they suck.
No, I mean, that's another perspective. It's another perspective, right? Bronze players don't have to think like that. They're choosing to think like that. They're being groomed by videos like this one and the other guy to think that they're not good, right? Rank is a PNG. It's an image, right? You come into my 10-mans, and I've invited you before, come into my 10-mans and play against some of these other ranks, and you'll quickly see that this is just a PNG. It doesn't mean anything. Your rank does not define you as a player. Your mistakes define you as a player. And the mistakes that are being made in these ranks are all interchangeable.
Elo and skill run side by side. We are able to assess how good someone is by the rank. That's the whole point of a rank system.
I agree, but it doesn't work yet because there's not enough information yet. There's not enough evidence yet. There's not enough practice into it yet. There needs to be more time put into it. It's not there yet. It isn't. This is a game that is just, everyone is just running into a wall right now. They have no clue. And that's why I have a job, Roman.
It's impossible to say an ascendant player is low elo, or as you put it, low skill.
Okay, I want to clarify this as well, because I've said this before. When I say someone is particularly low rank or low elo, first of all, it's marketing, and you can understand that because you're a marketer yourself, right? First of all, it's marketing. Second of all, I attribute skill in every single rank, what people are lacking, right? You could say aim is a skill. You can say peeking is a skill, okay? Peeking and movement is a skill. You could say communicating is a skill. You could say map knowledge is a skill. So map knowledge is a skill, okay? You can say all these different things, util, right? Now, what you need to do, Roman, if I was coaching you, is I would say, I want you to give me a rating out of 10 for these 5 skills. And there's a lot of other ones, right? This is mostly micro stuff. We're not even talking about macro. So I want you to give me a rating out of 10. 10 out of 10 would be world class. And if your number is 0 out of 10, I want you to give me an answer as to what you need to do to make this 10 out of 10 world class. Now, what ends up happening is when you're in these lower elos, okay, and once again from Ascendant, one of these usually gets neglected. Some of these get neglected. So when I make a video saying low rank players and I show an Ascendant lobby, it means this rank needs to pay attention because I am consistently seeing over my own data this mistake happening way too often at this rank, and it shouldn't happen.
When their elo or skill is above the average. This is grade school stuff. If we are grading things on a simple 2-part scale where it's only high elo and low,
again, all those skills we talked about, I've literally seen 0 to 10s. I also, on numerous occasions in Guess the Rank, sometimes get shocked with the fact that someone's an immortal player when they should be showing gold. They're showing gold skills. So you can't relate it because there's so much stuff, so many variables as to why someone could be higher rank and when they shouldn't be a higher rank. I know a lot of people who are stuck in certain areas because of fundamental mistakes that they keep making.
elo, then it's split down the middle.
I always say aim can only take you so far. So to me, when you start having to use your brain is when you start getting into the higher elos. In my personal experience, that is around Immortal 2 because Valorant from any rank between Gold 2 and Immortal 2 is the same game.
And that's it right there. This is the point where my boy Quiet Flicks has lost his sanity. Gold 2 and Immortal 2 are the same game.
I wouldn't say, I think he's going too far with Immortal 2. I would say he's going too far with Immortal 2, Roman. I think the exact rank would be Ascendant 1. Ascendant 2, you're starting to see a little bit of a change. Immortal 1, iffy. I would say Ascendant 2 to Immortal 1 is definitely like a transition phase in macro gameplay. Immortal 2, when your heart's stuck there, you need to understand macro. And if you don't understand macro, you're not going to get to Immortal 3. Immortal 3 starts getting deeper into macro within a ranked environment. And Radiant is that perfection of ranked play in terms of the macro style of the game. Okay? Then you go into the tiers, and then it just takes things to a whole new level. So I would say that he's probably exaggerating a little bit with the Immortal 2. But he notices a shift in how the game is played in Immortal 2. His peak rank is Immortal 2 right now, and he hasn't even experienced what Immortal 3 is like yet either. So,
beloved, no one in the history of the world has spectated an Immortal player and said, I wonder if this is gold. This is the Valorant
literally happened on my stream today.
ego poking its head out yet again. High Immortal and Radiant players love to discredit people and make them feel like they're shit. So they say passive-aggressive stuff like this. Honestly,
I agree with you, Roman. I think there's a lot of toxicity in this environment in general. In the internet in general, there's a lot of toxicity. But you can't deny the facts of skill. You can't just say that. You can make ranked a popularity contest all you want in terms of where the population lies, right? You can do that all you want. But at the end of the day, it's not a... Ranked is not a participation award. Okay, we're participating in gold more so, therefore this is mid-elo. No, it doesn't work that way. Population is one thing. You can say that all you want. And if you want to believe that's the way that you want to do it, as far as I'm concerned, it's copium. Because as soon as you get into higher ranks, you realize quite frequently and quite fast how out of your element you actually are.
Again, this video is not me shitting on anyone for being the rank they are.
you can't say that. You can't spend 2 minutes.
I mean, he came in saying this is the reality of the situation based on his experience and his opinion. You have your experience and your opinion, right? So he's been there and he is giving his 2 cents. I see nothing wrong with this. He's not shitting on anyone. He's not bullying anyone. He's telling it as it is. Now you can sit here and coddle people all you want and say, it's going to be okay, little Timmy. You're going to be just fine. All you want, Roman. But at the end of the day, you're actually hurting them more than you're doing good if they really want to get better at this game. And once again, Roman, I would love to coach you, to show you the difference in thought process so you can see, right? It does not directly translate. I think you've made some real life comparisons as well in your TikTok version, which made me laugh because this is not even applicable at all. But yeah, it's just not. It's not what you're saying it is.
Man, I'm off this. DJ, drop the track.
So yeah, I think in conclusion, perspective is everything, and you having your own thought process as to what you think is going to be high or low elo is ultimately what's causing this, right? I personally think that the game has not evolved to a point yet where a defined difference between silver up to ascendant is really defined based on the amount of VOD reviews I've done with students where the mistakes are very similar. And the amount of skill gap in between them is much smaller than you would actually think, because most players are thinking on a micro basis. How does my frags affect the game? That's all they're thinking about. It's something that I'm trying to get people off of on the thought process. The macro side of the game is where people fall off and they don't fully understand the game. So that is the issue. Until you've actually experienced the macro and how this changes the entire outlook of how Valorant is played, you cannot firmly sit here and say that this is right and this is wrong. You have not experienced it, and therefore you are incorrect. And unfortunately, our other player here is incorrect as well. Elo rank is overrated. It does not define you as a player. Hope this helps.